My name is José Medrano, and I am an educator. I currently am a counselor and a professor at a local community college in Montgomery County, Maryland. And I am an immigrant who came to the United States at the age of 7. I'm the first in my family to go to college, and I enjoy presenting and talking to people about scholarship opportunities here in the United States because the price of college keeps rising every year, and there's a lot of people that go into debt getting an education, and there are a lot of opportunities when it comes to scholarships. You just have to put in some work, some dedication, and you'll be able to apply to multiple scholarship opportunities that I will be sharing with you today. Um, I think this topic is very important because a lot of the resources that are available now, when I was coming up, I did not have access to them. Many young people now have access to their smart devices, uh, to the internet, and you can do a lot of searches through there, so you can find scholarship opportunities, not just in the United States but worldwide.
Okay, thank you so much for that introduction. And let's get right into the topic of scholarships because we do need to understand what they are. So, what is the proper definition for scholarships?
Scholarships are monies that are designated whether through an institution or a private organization or nonprofit organization or a corporation, and these are monies that are free that do not have to be paid back. For example, if you have a special ability, whether you can sing, whether you can play an instrument, whether you can dance, or you have good grades and give back to your community, scholarships can be given to you. Some organizations or universities that give out scholarships might have specific criteria, whether you need to that you need to follow in order to renew your scholarship opportunity. Some scholarships might be full tuition and fees and board that can pay for everything if you get accepted into a particular university. And the university might say, Clara, you need to get a 3.5 GPA in order for us to renew this scholarship for the upcoming years that you'll be spending with us. Or um, if you're applying for through a private corporation or a private nonprofit organization, they might have a one-time scholarship that they might offer to you, and then you should be searching for other opportunities.
Thank you for that. But would you then say, because it might be confusing to some of the people listening to us, what is exactly the difference between a scholarship and a grant? It sounds like they're both the same.
You know what? They are very close in definition. Both are types of gift aid, monies that you don't have to pay back, but grants generally are need based. One, from my experience working in school systems, uh, the grants are awarded more in need on a need based status. Which, for example, I've seen when students have if they qualify for free or reduced lunch, or their families receive assistance, like the SNAP program, for example. If they receive assistance, they will be able to qualify for special grants, uh, and these grants are determined through applying to federal student aid.
Okay, it's leading up into the next question, which is the difference. If you can please clarify that for us, the difference between the financial aid and scholarship.
Yes, the difference between financial aid and scholarships. Well, hopefully, if you're able to qualify to fill out the FAFSA application, which is the free application for federal student aid, and the key word in that phrase, I want you to remember free. If you are on the website and they're charging you to fill out that application, you're on the wrong website. So, student aid can provide you with getting grants, loans. There's subsidized loans and unsubsidized loans. The subsidized loans happen when, um, while you're in school, the government pays for all the interest. The unsubsidized loans, whenever you get that loan, even while you're in school, it starts accruing interest. So grants mostly are need based.
And what expenses do scholarships cover?
Scholarships can cover tuition, room, board, and fees, and also it can cover your meals as well. Depending on what type of scholarship you win, some of them even cover. They might give you additional stipends because sometimes, if for example, certain universities might have honors programs, and if you're a part of those honors programs, they might have a special assignment during the summers. So during the summers, they might have to give back to the community. Maybe they got to, if they're studying architecture, for example, they might have to build a temporary home in a particular place in the U.S. and they'll get a stipend so they can travel back and forth to the site and pay for their meals and lodging.
Okay. And what makes one eligible to receive scholarship?
Well, there are various types of scholarships depending on the skill set of the student. There's merit scholarships, which are based on your grades. If students take a rigorous curriculum, for example, at the high school level, if they take in, if they're taking advanced placement classes, also referred to as AP, or if they're taking IB, International Baccalaureate classes, or if they do dual enrollment classes, which while you're in high school, you're taking classes at the local community college, that can make you a very good applicant when you're applying to four-year universities to receive scholarships. You can also apply to outside scholarships through different organizations. For example, McDonald's has a scholarship, Coca-Cola has scholarships, many corporations have scholarships. And if these young people have, if they're currently working, depending on your employer, some employers do have scholarship opportunities. I had a student who was working at the Giant supermarket, and her employer offered a scholarship that she was able to apply for, and it helped her pay for her schooling here in Montgomery County, Maryland.
Okay. So there are some specific criteria to applying and getting a scholarship, but how do you maintain one once you've received it?
Yeah, each scholarship is different, so you have to sort of read the fine print. For example, at the local community college, they have a scholarship called the Board of Trustees. In order for the Board of Trustees scholarships to renew for the next year, you have to meet a certain GPA. If I recall correctly, it's about a 3.0 GPA in order for the Board of Trustees scholarships to be renewed for the upcoming year. So each university might have its criteria depending on what they're looking for. So some universities might want a higher GPA than a 3.0, and depending on what program you're in, some programs are more competitive than others. For example, you hear the term STEM, which refers to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So the majors under that particular umbrella, they're more competitive and they're more rigorous when it comes to the curriculum. So they might require someone who's studying to be, for example, a doctor. They might require that person to have a 3.5 or higher GPA. The scholarship might require that of them. And again, it may depend on the major and the type of scholarship that the student receives.
Okay. Then does that mean that those who award scholarships then can cancel it or reduce it depending
Yes,
on? Okay.
unfortunately, that is a possibility. The organization that gives you the scholarship has a specific criteria, and if that criteria is not met for that particular semester, they might revoke it. For example, earlier we talked about the FAFSA application, the free application for federal student aid. If a student that does not meet a 2.0 GPA or higher at the college level each semester, FAFSA can cancel their financial aid and then won't be able to receive financial aid for the next semester, which means they would have to pay out of pocket and raise their GPA or their grades in order to have FAFSA reinstated and help them pay out their studies.
So it sounds like those are some reasons why some students may lose their scholarships and not being able to maintain the GPA.
That's correct. That is one of the criteria, not being able to maintain the GPA. And also nowadays, one of the things that I didn't have coming up is um, social media. if you get accepted into a particular university and they give you a scholarship, if you post hateful language or racist language um, on your social media, people that are doing the admissions, they're scouring the internet to see what people are putting on their social media, and they can rescind your application and no longer admit you into their school and take back the scholarship that they offered you. So that's something important to take into account when you're posting things online.
Hmm, that's very interesting. Now, as far as the FAFSA and the scholarship, can you apply for the FAFSA first, or how is the process? Does one have to apply for a scholarship first, then FAFSA, or can you do both at the same time?
Well, you can do both at the same time, and scholarships can be applied starting at the elementary level. For example, the company Google, which a lot of people use it for search purposes, a search engine, they have the Doodle Google Doodle for Google scholarship, and that's a competition that happens, and it's a national scholarship that can be done at the elementary, middle, and high school level. And what happens if the winner is chosen? Uh, the school gets money from Google and also equipment from the company, and the student also gets a scholarship even before applying for the college process. Now, for applying for FAFSA, generally students apply in the 12th grade year. And during the 12th grade year, the FAFSA opens on October 1st. So, one of the things that's very critical for students to remember and to take into account is that there are three deadlines for FAFSA. There is the state deadline, and there's the federal deadline, and there's the institution deadline. What I mean by the institution deadline, if you're applying, for example, to UCLA, UCLA has its own deadline by when they want the FAFSA application turned into them. The state deadline, um, that's one of the things they need, because when you apply for FAFSA, you're applying for federal aid. When you apply for, you can also apply for state aid. For here in the state of Maryland, we have the Maryland Higher Education Commission, or MHEC, and MHEC has various programs and grants that students can apply for through their website. So the information from the FAFSA is shared with the state. When you make an account, um, the information from FAFSA will tell the state, oh, this person qualifies for the grant. There are some need grants that are available through the state, and it can make in-state schools more affordable for families, because you can get money from FAFSA, which is federal money, and then you get monies from the state of Maryland, from the Maryland Higher Education Commission, MHEC, MHEC. If you look it up in a search engine, and you can put MHEC, MD, CAPS, MD caps. MD caps stands for the Maryland um, College Aid Processing System, and they're the ones that can offer different aids or assistance for state funding with grants.
Now, you mentioned a little bit about support being available on it as merit based, I believe, and you said need based. Can you just clarify exactly how one could determine in under which category one falls?
Okay, so generally, if a student qualifies for free or reduced lunch, or sometimes I have a lot of students that haven't applied for free or reduced lunch, and their family is able to get, for example, the SNAP program, which used to be referred to as the food stamp program. Their families could qualify for grants based on need. Now, the merit base would be when a student takes more rigorous courses. At the high school level, they have AP classes, advanced placements, or IB classes. So if they take either of these, or they can be considered for merit scholarships at various universities when they're applying, because the rigor in their curriculum, it's harder because AP and IB classes are considered to be at the same level as some college classes as well. Once they complete the class, generally what happens is the student is able to take a test. For example, they can take AP history and learn about American history. Once they finish that particular um, class, they can sign up for the test and receive college credit for either AP or IB, whichever class they're taking. So that would be what's merit based. Merit based is the better the grades and the more rigor in the curriculum, the easier it becomes to be a better candidate for scholarships.
And the need-based one, is it based on the family's financials?
Yes, there. My understanding is that Fafsa is going to be changing the way they give the formula, the way they calculate the family's income. Before they used to use something called EFC, which is the estimated family contribution. The family will fill out the form, and then based on how much they make, that formula would tell them how much the family can contribute to the student's studies. Now the formula is being changed a little bit, so it's being updated, and it'll take the family's income and see how much they can award. So, but I know that they're working on the EFC piece. The estimated family contribution will be updated.
So now, once a student and their families, once they've applied for scholarship, um, when they're doing the paperwork, how do they find out whether that particular scholarship is renewable or it isn't?
Yeah, usually the when you fill out the application, it tells you whether it's a renewable uh, scholarship or not. Like there's a scholarship called the Gates Scholarship, which is by the by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and they have renewable scholarships, and that's also if I recall correctly, they also have a GPA requirement that the applicant needs, and it can pay all 4 years of studying at an American university. But there's some other scholarships, for example, that alumni at a particular high school. Let's take for example Montgomery Blair High School. The alumni association says, "Hey, we graduated in this year. Let's get together and start a scholarship for our students at Montgomery Blair." So they'll say the class of 1990 just donated $3,000, and they want to have three scholarships at $1,000 apiece. So students can apply for those scholarships, and there's less competition because you're only competing against the students in your school, and it might be a one-time $1,000 offer. And generally, what happens is they usually give either the family the $1,000, or they'll tell you, "Hey, where did you get accepted to? We're going to mail out the check with your information to the particular university where you'll be attending." So it depends on what type of scholarships you apply for. We have local scholarships, which is like the one I told you about, the Montgomery Blair Association, Alumni Association coming up with it. Then you have regional scholarships, which is with MHEC, where you have the grant scholarships, and there's some scholarships for special programs too. There's a shortage in nursing, for example, so they have some special programs which can give you more grants or more money to study nursing. And then there's national scholarships. You'll be competing against the rest of the country. Like the national scholarships could be like earlier I talked about the Gates scholarship. Also, Coca-Cola. That's a national scholarship that you're competing against. So there's various types of scholarships you can apply to. Sometimes students might say, "Oh man, that's $200. I'm not going to apply for $200." But if you add those up little by little, the more you win, the more the money adds up, and the more you're saving towards your tuition and fees. And down the road, you won't need to get student loans, and you can use that money to pay for your schooling.
Now, speaking of, you mentioned a little bit about your background, being an immigrant. Are there scholarships that are available specifically for immigrant students?
Yes, there are some scholarships that are available for immigrant students. And one of the ones that comes to mind, there's a scholarship called Esperanza. And Esperanza, it's a nonprofit organization that offers scholarships in the DC metro area. So that would include Maryland, Washington, and Virginia. And they do have scholarships for students. If the student happens to be undocumented as well, uh, the dream.us is a scholarship that students can apply for as well, coming out of high school, or if they're at community college. Um, Students have a opportunity to apply for the Dream.us at the high school level, and also if they're at the community college level. Um, so I'm also going to send you a list of various through email so you can share with the public some scholarship opportunities that they can follow up if they're undocumented, or they have scholarships for immigrants in general as well. And if you are under the category of immigrant and you have a permanent resident card, you can fill out the application for FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. There's also some special categories. I know if people have applied for asylum, for example, once their case has been approved and they have a special number, they can call the 1-800 number to find out if they're eligible to fill out the FAFSA and get money as well. They might be able to get grants once the asylum case is approved.
And now I know that there are some people, you hear that they've gone to college thanks to a scholarship, let's say for athleticism, um, right? So,
That is correct.
right.
One of the things I do want to say, athletic scholarships are rare and very competitive. So 1 to 2%, which is not a lot. So you have to be on your A game. You have to be a super athlete and very dedicated. Um, I recall my experience. I attended University of Maryland for undergraduate in College Park, and my friend tried on as a walk on for football, and he was able to make it. So they have he didn't get a scholarship though. He was as a walk on, and I say this because his schedule was very hectic. He had a full time schedule which consisted of 5 classes. Generally consists of science, uh, a math class, English. It might be a humanities, which is a history, and a behavioral social science like a psychology or a sociology. And after finishing that full day of classes, you need to go to study hall. And after study hall, you would have to go and practice. So you're practicing out there in the 90-degree heat for football. So it's very time consuming, and it's a big commitment if you are playing sports at the college level. Now, having said that, if you are a really good athlete, one of the things that's happening now is that the NCAA just changed their rules, and some athletes are able to get sponsors. So if you're able to get sponsors, that money you can use to put towards your education, and minimize if you do have to get loans, because there are athletic scholarships, but not all athletic scholarships are full scholarships. They might pay a portion, or if you're really good, they'll pay the whole tuition and fees, room and board, and your meals. But um, if it's a partial scholarship, applying for external scholarships will be crucial, so you don't get yourself into debt.
Okay. And what are those called community involvement scholarships?
Yes, they have community involvement is very important. You know, recently we had the tragedy happen in Haiti where we had that horrible earthquake, and I recall that before when I was working at Montgomery Blair High School, one of my students started a community effort, and they started packing all types of things to help out people in Haiti. They came up with boxes. They were getting shoes, clothing, anything you can think of, borrow soaps, toothpaste, toothbrushes, anything necessary for people. And when you initiate community involvement like that, when you start your own projects and you apply for scholarships and you apply for universities, they look at that. This person took it upon themselves to start a project to help not only their community but people around the world. So community involvement is crucial. Whether you're giving back at a nursing home, whether you're giving back at a homeless shelter, whether you're tutoring. Let's say you're at the high school level and you're tutoring middle schoolers, or you're tutoring elementary school kids, or mentoring. All of these things will make you a better candidate when you're applying for scholarship opportunities, because yes, they look at the rigor of classes that you're taking, whether you're taking honors, APs, or IBs, or dual enrollment at the local college. Um, but they also look at what is this person doing to make a difference in the world? What is this person doing to make a difference in their local community? Are they bringing? I want them. I want that person, that change that they're giving in their community. I want that same change at my university. So they look at the whole picture when they're doing that.
So basically, being a good citizen pays out.
Definitely, yeah, being a good citizen, because my experience has been with students who have had 300 hours or more of giving back to their communities. It was a bit easier when we applied for scholarships and they were able to win. Now, having said that, I want to say that when students apply for scholarships as well, um, I had a young lady that I worked with. We applied to literally 30 scholarships, and the first 10 said no. And she was getting very discouraged. And I said, you know what? This is going to teach us something. We got to keep going. These are barriers that we got to jump over. Keep a positive mindset and keep going, because we're gonna get some money. I know we are. We just got to keep going. And after the 10th scholarship denied us, the first one came in, and it was a $500 scholarship from a fast food place. And once that came in, it was like a snowball effect. You know, we applied for the Dream.us scholarship, and she won that scholarship. That scholarship paid full tuition and fees at Trinity Washington University. So the Dream.us was able to help her pay for her studies. So even though people will close the door on you, don't give up and quickly close the door on yourself, because you got to keep on writing. You got to keep on applying, because there's competition, and you got to keep going and sending out your applications. And that's a very important part of the process.
Right. And speaking of schools, one of the big players, if you will, besides Ivy League schools, and some of these HBCUs are Ivy League, but are there scholarships that are available only to those who wish to attend HBCUs, meaning historically Black colleges and universities?
Yes, definitely. And one of the most, we're in a DC metro area. One of the most famous ones we have, which is also referred to as the Black Harvard, it's Howard University in Washington, DC. And although I didn't attend, my brother is an alumni, and I was able to spend a lot of time at the campus. And I love the support and the experience he went through. Uh, they do, historically Black colleges and universities do have a lot of scholarship opportunities that they offer. If you do a search on your computer or on your phone and look for freshman scholarships, HBCUs, um, if there's a specific university that you want to go to, put in the name of that particular university and see if they have scholarships available. I know here in the state of Maryland, we have Morgan State University. We have University of Maryland Eastern Shore, which is not too far away from Ocean City as well. Um, we also have Coppin State University. We have Bowie State University as well. And if you have any students interested um, in education, Bowie State University has the Black Male Center for educators. So they are offering scholarship opportunities if people want to go into education. So there are scholarships specifically for historically Black colleges, and there are scholarships specifically for majors. So if there's a particular major that you want to go into, when there's not enough educators in that particular field, for example, they want to invest and create their own educators so that they can go back in the local communities and teach students. For here in the U.S., there is I talked earlier about the shortage for nursing because there is a grant, but many universities around the country, if you want to go into education and become a teacher, they do have special scholarships for teachers as well. And here in the United States, 7% of teachers are of Black or African ancestry, and 2% of teachers are Black male teachers. So that's a very low number. So we need to increase those numbers, and there are scholarships that are available for that at the local community college and at various universities. Um, the other uh, One of the websites I want to recommend if you are applying to historically black colleges and universities, uncf.org, um, the United Negro College Fund. They have partnerships with special schools. Um, and if you go on their website, you'll be able to see the partnerships and see if you're able to, if you want to attend one of those schools. Um, they have special scholarships that they can offer, but you have to fill out a profile. And one of the things I want to say also, historically black colleges and universities are open to everyone, and they have a lot of supports, especially for first generation students. So this is very important to take in mind.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, coming back to the local level here in Montgomery County, are there scholarship opportunities if a student is planning to go to Montgomery College?
Yes, they are. So at Montgomery College, before coming out of high school, there are opportunities where you can apply for the Montgomery College Foundation scholarships. And generally, if the student has a 2.5 GPA or higher, they can apply for those scholarships. There's also the Montgomery College Honors Programs. One that comes to mind because I've had a lot of students who have had success with this program. We have a program called the Macklin Business Institute, and if a student wants to study business, they can apply for this honors programs at Montgomery College. And if you get accepted into the program, it pays for 2 years at Montgomery College for you. And one of the good things is when you're applying for transfer schools, this is like you taking rigorous classes, because the classes are very rigorous, because you'll be taking honors classes at the college level, and it'll make it easier for you to apply for transfer scholarships and to get transfer scholarships. One of the students that I work with at Montgomery Blair, he applied to the Macklin Business Institute, and he was able to get 2 years at Montgomery College. While he was at Montgomery College, we also applied for a transfer scholarship called the Jack Kent Cook Scholarship. He used to be the owner of a football team, and and one of the things that this scholarship requires is for you to apply to competitive schools. So he applied to Columbia, University of Maryland, Georgetown. In the end, when he got his financial aid package back, the one that came out to be the school that became more affordable was Georgetown University. So he went to Georgetown. First 2 years at community college, last 2 years at Georgetown University, and he graduated without zero debt, because the scholarships help him paid for that. So just remember, there are various honors programs at the community college that can help you with your transfer process as well. Another scholarship at the college level, there is the Board of Trustees scholarships. And generally, if I recall correctly, that one requires about a 3.0 GPA and community involvement. You know, we were talking about community involvement. If you do special projects for the community around the world, or your local community, that's taken into consideration. So the Board of Trustees, basically, that's one of the ones that has a stipulation. So if you get that scholarship, you'll get it for the first year, but you'll have to get a certain GPA to renew it. I believe in order to renew it, it's about a 3.5, if I recall correctly. Um, but that's another scholarship you can apply to at the community college.
Okay. And are there some organizations here in Montgomery County you could recommend for college bound students?
Depending on what school you go to, some of the high schools might have a program called college tracks, which can help. You have to apply to get into the program, and they can help you with the whole college process. So they'll help you with applying to the college. They'll have workshops for parents and for students, and that's the same thing also for another program, which is in about 15 schools in Montgomery County called ACES, Achieving Collegiate Excellence and Success. Um, Students have to apply to be in the program during their 10th grade year, and they'll walk them through the whole college process. And again, they also do workshops for parents and students that can help them out. Um, Now, at the community college, if you need assistance with filling out your FAFSA, if you need information about scholarships, you can contact the Educational Opportunity Center in Montgomery College, and you can set up an appointment with them, and they can help you with all those resources. And it's free.
Very well. Now, you talked about the package. So let's talk about a scholarship. I almost said sponsorship, but scholarship package. What are some of the documents that are required as part of that package?
Yes, some of the documents that will be required are your student aid report, which is a report that you get from the FAFSA application. That's one of the things that like 99% of the scholarships will require, unless you're undocumented. But those will be required. Student aid report. So I would recommend you make a folder on your desktop and download that so you have it ready to go, because sometimes the website might go down or something like that. The other thing many of the applications might request is your parents' tax information or your guardian's tax information. So if you go to irs.gov, you can download tax transcripts, and it'll ask you different questions. You'll need your parents' social security and information. And on there, it'll ask you, what is the purpose of the tax transcript? Do you want it for immigration purposes? Do you want it for mortgage purposes or educational purposes? So choose educational purposes, and it'll give you the right one that you need. And also save that on the little folder that I recommend you make. Another thing that you'll need for the applications or for the package is um, either local leaders' recommendations or teachers or professors' recommendations. So I know when you're young, sometimes you might say, "Oh, I really don't like that teacher." Please don't get attitudes with those teachers, because down the road you might need those teachers to write letters of recommendation for you, and that might be the difference whether you get in or not get to a university. So recommendation letters from various local leaders, teachers, or professors are going to be crucial um, in 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 getting that scholarship. And I'll say this as well: if you're studying a major like biology, biological sciences, maybe you want to become a doctor, a nurse. Um, your recommendations from your science and math teachers will be very important. So make sure you get the best grades possible, and have a good relationship with your teachers or professors, because they can help you win that scholarship.
Thank you for that. So I understand that yes, most scholarships there is somewhere in there where an essay is required. Now, because students, it's recommended, and from listening to you, that they apply to as many scholarships as possible. Can they use the same essay across the board for all their applications?
Essentially, you can, but just remember to change the institution you're applying to. I recall there was a young when I work with students, I always tell them, have four people minimum read over your essay. Have a friend, have teachers, and have other professional staff look over your essay, because I want different opinions and different perspectives on about your essay. And I say this because even though I told a student to have four people view his essay, he said, I would like to be accepted to Duke University, to University of Maryland. And you know the answer he got, because he got the wrong school. So it's very important that you put the correct information if you are going to use the essays. Because the reason I say you will be using the essays is because many of the essays require your story. What about you can make a difference when you come to my university? What can you contribute when you come to my campus? So that's going to be very important. The essay is a very important piece. The other thing I'm going to recommend when you do write your essays is sometimes students, um, my experience has been working with a lot of immigrant students from all over the world. So sometimes students don't want to share certain information, and that's okay. But if you do share some information, I'm gonna give you an example about a student that wrote an essay. Right, she wrote about her plight coming from Eritrea and how challenging it was to come here without knowing the language and learning a new culture and learning English. I understand where she was coming from when I read her essay. I went through that as well. However, when I got to talking to her more in depth, she shared with me that at one point in her life, she was a refugee at a camp. And this was very impactful. And I said to her, would you mind sharing that on your essay? And she stated, you know what? I never thought about it. I didn't think it was important. And I was like, that's that's huge, like what you've gone through. It's a traumatic experience, and it's part of you, and it makes you the resilient and strong person that you are today. So it's important to share and be truthful so that you can get your point across. And she shared that information, and she got into the university of her choice. So it's going to be the essay piece is very critical. And like, again, please have at least 4 people read it over. Get an opinion from one of your friends, also teachers and professional staff.
Okay, thank you. And it sounds like it takes a lot of researching around putting together a good scholarship package. So, who would you, well, before we even get into who to get in touch with, are there some um, search engines that you would recommend that are better to search for scholarships than others?
Yes, definitely. I have some great websites that I use with students for scholarship purposes. One of them is cappex.com, CAPPEX.com. Um, Basically, on there, you create a profile. It'll ask you information about yourself. The more information you input, the more it'll match up with scholarships that are pertinent to you. Because sometimes students will ask, why is this asking me about my religion? Or why is this asking me about where I'm from? Because sometimes local organizations might have um, a specific scholarship available for students of a certain ethnicity or a specific country. So that's why I might ask you that. Um, and the more information you input, the more it'll match you up with. Another website that I like to recommend is Big Future by College Board. College Board are the people that create the exam SAT and ACT, and they also have a great website where you can create a profile and it'll match up with scholarships. The last one I really like, this is my favorite because I've had very good luck with students winning money through this website. It's called raise.me, raise.me. So on there they have pet partner colleges, and what they do is you can start filling this out at your ninth grade year. From freshman year, from ninth grade on, you can start filling this out. And they do have an app for the iPhone, but unfortunately they don't for the Android. But you can do it on a computer. And the partner colleges will give you what they call micro scholarships, small scholarships that will add up once you do it for all 4 years. For example, if I get an A in English for freshman English, instead of getting $100, they'll give me $300 at the particular school that I want to attend once I graduate. If I get a B in mathematics my freshman year, they'll give me $200 instead of getting 400 because I didn't get an A. So for doing the things you already do, for getting good grades, for attending a college fair, for visiting a university, for going places pertaining to university purposes. For example, they might have a workshop how to get to college. For example, even if you're a freshman or a sophomore, these are good. This is good information to have at earlier stages, so you can see what you have to work towards. So Raise.me will give you money for going to college fairs, for visiting universities, for going to events like the one I just described. And I know during the summers, University of Maryland usually does a free symposium where they do an overview for parents and students so they can see what the college process is like.
Okay. Which it sounds like you answered the next question I had, which is how early, how soon should a student and their family start planning for college?
I'll be honest. If it was up to me, I'll have them in elementary school. We should be going. We should be taking our elementary babies to visit some universities at that age. so they get it ingrained in their minds that they can achieve whatever they conceive in their mind. Because when I was an elementary school counselor in Arlington, Virginia, I used to take my students to the universities, and the way they felt, I mean, the happiness and the glee you would see in their eyes, that's a priceless feeling. And I was like, this has to happen more often. So I used to take them to local universities in the Virginia area and in DC as well. Um, so researching, you know, if you take a road trip somewhere and there's a university there, many of the universities welcome visitors. So find out. You know, there's lots of opportunities, and doing a little research goes a long way.
Okay. So it sounds like as soon as possible is your answer.
Yeah, as soon as possible.
Okay. And speaking of those who are already in the school, how does the College and Career Center help them as far as the scholarship search is concerned?
at at the high school level or college
Yes,
level?
at the
Okay.
high school level.
Yes, the college and career coordinators are phenomenal. They put together an email which parents can have have the opportunity to sign up for as well and get that email. And it has fly-in programs. Fly-in programs are opportunities for students who want to go to a particular university. Let's say someone wants to go to Stanford and they have a fly-in program. You'll have to fill out an application. You have to apply for the fly-in program. And if you get accepted, what will happen is they will pay for your airfare for you to fly to the university and find out what the university offers and for you to come back as well. And you'll have a special program that you attend during the fly-in program, and you'll get to spend time with other students and find out from them, hey, what is your experience like? How does it feel to be here? Do you feel welcomed? Do you feel like you're learning? And if you had to do anything else differently, what would you do differently?
Okay, thank you for that. Now you touched upon the importance of the parents. Of course, they have to get involved because their finances are involved in this whole process. But we also know that in the immigrant community, English proficiency is sometimes an issue. So in this case, and in the case that it isn't, who is available for the student to talk to in order to get some assistance with all this whole process?
Yes, you can always get help from your teachers. You can get help from your counselors. You can also get help from the college and career coordinators. The college and career coordinators have summer workshops for students about the college process to inform them about what is the process to apply to this particular university. What is the process to apply for this particular scholarship? And it'll tell you, hey, for this particular scholarship, you have to write an essay and you have to turn in your student aid report. For this other one, it'll ask you for your transcript, it'll ask you for your student aid report, and for your parents' taxes. So it depends. Each scholarship has different criteria, and these professionals will inform you. And if you are lost, make sure you reach out to these people, to counselors, to your college and career coordinators, especially the college and career coordinators. They can nominate you for special programs which offer scholarships. There's a program called the Posse Foundation, and they have partner colleges, competitive colleges that can offer full scholarships to students. But the nomination, a large percentage happens through the college and career coordinators. And students have to be nominated towards the end of their 11th grade year. But you have to be in contact. Get to know your college and career coordinator. Who is that person? How can I get in contact with that person? And how can I be on their email list? Because I want to make sure I can apply for the information they're sending out.
Thank you for that. So as we come to the end of our time together, just to wrap things up and sharing tips and advices. So what are some tips to make the process less painful? Because some parents and students may feel that it's burdensome. But what are some of the tips to make it perhaps an enjoyable process?
Yes. I think parents, be supportive of your child. These applications are very competitive, and I know sometimes you might be frustrated. You're not doing X, Y, and Z, but remember, if they're taking a rigorous curriculum like AB or AP, they're doing college level work. or if they're doing dual enrollment, they're actually going to the college. And this is college level work that takes a lot of time. For a 3 credit class, they generally recommend you're studying about 9 hours a week. So that's for one class. So that's a lot of work. If you want them to have the best grades, it's important to remember that, because a lot of the times I recall, and now that I'm a parent, I would say back in my day, we did it like this. But unfortunately, things are changing. And especially in the climate that we're in with the pandemic, everything has gone virtually and everything is more challenging. If I had to, I'll be honest, if I had to do a math class right now online, I don't think I would pass it, because it's very time consuming and it's very challenging to do it online. And many of these young people are very resilient because they are doing it online, whether they're at the high school or middle or even elementary school level. Because imagine being 3 hours at a virtual conference or virtual um, class. You get very impatient. So I can say, parents, be patient, be supportive. Also, find out the resources. Usually, many schools have parent liaisons. Find out how they can support you. If they don't speak your language, the schools have language lines that they can call and inform themselves and help you. So include yourself in a school system, because you are a very important piece. Being supportive for your children and being there is very important, no matter what language. And another thing I want to say is about language. Please do not tell your kids to lose their native languages, because I've seen this happen. You know, we want to compete with the rest of the world. Um, and if you're educated and you speak multiple languages, you can work anywhere in the world. So please encourage your child to keep their language and write it, speak it, and be able to relate to other people, because these languages are very important. Because I've seen in the past, unfortunately, where parents would say, "No, you can't talk. I want you to speak in English. Don't talk in my native language." So it's very important. Keep your native language, because it can make you a more marketable individual if you choose to work in other countries.
Thank you so very much for your time today. You've definitely shared some very important information, and we're looking forward to even more as you share in the email some of the resources, and we'll share, of course, with the public. So thank you so much, and I wish you a great evening, and we'll see you next time.
Great. Thank you so much.